Hi everyone, Monique here. Welcome back to the channel if you're a subscriber, and welcome if you're new. On this channel at the moment we are unpacking, and today's video we are unpacking challenging Pluto aspects. Now at the moment Pluto is moving forward. It is still in Capricorn. It is conjuncting my natal sun at the moment. I've had 15 years of this transit, so I tend to share from an astrological point of view, but more so from my own experience. And that is to help others, especially Aquarians, Leos, Scorpios, and Taurus, that will experience 20 years of Pluto either conjuncting, opposing, or squaring their natal sun. So I hope this does help you on your journey. And please drop a comment into the comment box. There's many beautiful comments there. I'm really grateful, everyone, for commenting, because you're not only helping by commenting on my channel, you're actually helping others. There's some really great comments and experiences from other people that have viewed these videos. So thank you once again. And now today, we're going to have a look at Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto. Scorpio was originally ruled in ancient astrology by the planet Mars. However, in the 1930s, Pluto was discovered and has been allocated to the astrological sign Scorpio. Now, when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius and transits Aquarius, Pluto will actually square Scorpio and Taurus, but today we're talking about Scorpio. So Pluto will actually be squaring its astrological sign. So there's many traits that Scorpio carries that will, by knowing about these and understanding these, will help you with your challenging Pluto transit. Now, Scorpio and Pluto are all about the subconscious mind, what sits in our unconscious that we're not even aware of. If we were aware of it, it wouldn't be unconscious. Now, when the Pluto transit comes along, it activates the energies that are needed to start digging into our unconscious, and it happens naturally. You can help it along with doing certain inner child shadow work, shadow also being a name for the subconscious, unconscious, because it's in the shadows. We can't see it. So the subconscious, unconscious will be the area where certain revelations, you could say, come to your conscious knowledge about patterns that you have been behaving from, reacting from, up until they have been uncovered by the transit of challenging transit of Pluto. Now, Scorpio rules sexuality, something that I have Venus and Mars in Aquarius, so I'm not aware of me being sexual or of me flirting, what have you. But I did become aware that I was sending off a sexy vibe, you could say, a certain energy, and I was made aware of that by a few people, but I wasn't aware of that at all. But I put that down to having my Venus and Mars in Aquarius. So you may find that you feel a little more sexy, that you're getting looks from the opposite sex or same sex, and you know, that's something to take on board. That's a Scorpio trait. They're all about the sexuality. They take sex very seriously. I will be honest, early on in the transformation, I went on a sexual adventure with a partner, and probably that was the most active sexually that I'd been in my whole life. And in saying that, I very much took on the awareness for myself personally of the sacredness of sex. And for me, I've remained abstinent over 5 years, 6 years now, and I choose that abstinence until I can meet a person who is on the same level sexually as myself. So that's just my personal journey. Please share, especially the Capricorns that smolder in the bedroom. Not everybody is aware of that, but please leave your comments. Perhaps it'll help somebody else. Scorpio and Pluto are about everything that's taboo, everything that society doesn't want to speak about. Taboo talk, relationships, behaviors. They're very aware, Scorpio, and you will become aware with your Pluto transit, that there's things that we know we shouldn't partake in. However, sometimes we do, and we become aware of the taboo in society. Those topics and behaviors, relationships that are secretive, another keyword for Scorpio and Pluto. Scorpios, and you may find this yourself with your Pluto transit, you become very aware of vindictiveness. I'm not a vindictive person. I have a lot of Pisces. I'm more the empath. But I did get these vindictive thoughts that I chose not to act on. But those thoughts came up from the subconscious, the unconscious. We all have light and dark within us. So vindictiveness, especially because there's great loss, there's great isolation, there's great crisis with a challenging Pluto transit, that until we become aware and we mature through it and we master this Pluto energy, vindictiveness is another keyword for Scorpio. Self-destructiveness is another keyword for Scorpio, and that self-destructiveness acts alongside of the taboo. If we do act out on areas where we know we shouldn't, you know, that's a self-destructive behavior, whether it's addictions, having affairs, you know, anything that we know isn't in alignment with our true self. Another couple of keywords for Scorpio is jealousy, obsessiveness, and passion. Passion could align with sexuality, obsessiveness after a partner that we know we shouldn't chase, and jealousy of others. Because remember, you know, Pluto pulls the rug out from underneath us and takes all of our dysfunctional behaviors up to the surface for us to see. And, you know, I'll be honest, I became very jealous, I suppose, of my siblings, because they weren't going through the hard times I was. It's not only siblings, it can be anybody who's doing well in life, and here you are going through this very challenging Pluto transit. So, you know, Scorpios can be very jealous people, but that is one of the shadow sides of the Plutonic energy. Scorpio is one of the water signs, the others being Pisces and Cancer. However, Scorpio is fixed water. So Scorpio and yourself, as you move through this Pluto transit, will become aware of feelings and other people's feelings, because you will be asked to address your own emotional body. They're receptive to others, but they're a little different to the Cancer Pisces, who can absorb themselves into others' feelings. They're very fixed Scorpios and can be likely to say no before they even contemplate, almost like a stubbornness, an emotional stubbornness. They're very comfortable, Scorpios, with the darkness in ourselves and in the world, and you will become very aware of the darkness with your Pluto transit. Because that's what the whole deal is about, is the uncovering, the digging into the unconscious, subconscious, so that the darker aspects of ourselves the aspects of ourselves that we disowned and buried deep so that nobody else could see. Because if people see, there's a lot of shame with that. And that's why Pluto works on our shame. In any area that we have shame, we need to own that, and we need to be released for the shame of our darker aspects. So you will become very comfortable with the darkness in yourself, in others, and also in humanity, the collective, and especially as Pluto ingresses and transits Aquarius, which rules the collective. Everybody is going to get to see the darker side of humanity over the next 20 years. And we cannot stand from a point of polarity, because as you experience and come to understand and get used to the Pluto transit, you'll realize that we all have that darkness, and there should never be any finger pointing. It's a choice. It's a definite choice. Pluto doesn't like weaknesses in others or in themselves. Now, that can manifest from a perspective of we are working on ourselves. We are seeing the unconscious. We are doing everything in our power so not to sink into this underworld and suicide, because we have discussed suicide, just wanting to die, because, Pluto is the Lord of the underworld, of the dead souls that pass over, the subconscious. We're alchemists, transmuters. That is what Scorpios, they're alchemists, transmuting that darkness, those aspects of ourselves, bringing them into the light so that we may be empowered, that other word for Pluto transits. They don't like the weaknesses. So therefore we don't like the weaknesses in ourselves. And as these unconscious, subconscious patterns come to the surface for us to reflect on, I did go through a time, I was so angry with addictions, because I have been dealing with addictions all my life. I have Chiron in Pisces. I have Saturn in Pisces, opposing my natal Pluto and Uranus conjunct in Virgo, health. So that has been a major, major theme of my life, has been addictions. However, through this Pluto transit with addictions, I've come to own them in a loving way, rather than I seriously would speak out into the atmosphere, get them out of me, just let them go, get them out of me. And working with a counsellor, I really came to see that shame on myself that I was projecting onto myself, the shame and the despise of that addictive nature that I was born with, and I believe ancestral was passed along the line. I've come to love that part of myself, and I don't shame myself if I act out in addiction anymore. And that just changed the whole ball game when I stopped beating myself over the head. Not only addictions, whatever it is that comes up for yourself, patterns that are hard to budge. And have a look at the wounded healer Chiron, because that's where we heal, and that's where we share to help others, and the wound doesn't necessarily get healed in this lifetime. Pluto, Scorpio, I should say, can live in crisis, failure, loss, heartbreak. Their whole life could be crisis. A Pluto Scorpio native, sorry. Actually, this Pluto transit has given me huge compassion for Scorpios, because what's mine, 15 years, and the other planets, but when it's the ego, the sun, I have such compassion for Scorpios, because that is their life. They are mastering the Plutonic energy. And if you have, a lot of planets in Scorpio, you'll know what I mean. And with Pluto transit, you'll know what I mean, because it's a long transit, and eventually, you settle into it, the more you learn, the more you come to understand. And please come back to this channel, because this is all we're doing. I'm going to have Pluto transit my Venus and Mars, all my personal planets, after Pluto's moved through Pisces. If I'm still around, they will all have had their transformation. And many of our viewers, their comments, they have had other planets in their natal chart that have already been transformed by Pluto. But the sun is very important. It is our ego. If you've got a Leo rising, even more so, because the sun is ruling your natal chart, and that is what will be opposed by the transit of Pluto into Aquarius. As Scorpio can live in crisis, and you will learn to do that too with your Pluto transit, they can also live in crisis with others. So the Pluto transit will give you the understanding that Scorpio has, that you can understand other people's crisis. I've mentioned this before, we have floods, fires, and many people have lost all their belongings. I get that. I so get that, because everything was taken from me as soon as Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008. They can stand with others, Scorpions. You will be able to stand with others who are going through crisis without having to sink your emotional energy there and get lost. And without caretaking others, you will be standing with them, holding the space. They're real detectives, Scorpios. They do make great researchers, digging up information, and they make good detectives in crime. That's the other thing with the Pluto transit. You may find yourself that you become very interested in crime shows. I think I've watched every crime show on Netflix. I've gone through other documentaries, and some of it's really dark. It's really dark, and I know people that wouldn't even see that. There's one show on Netflix, and I don't have Netflix now because I've watched all of those shows, but it's something I want to see. And I know a Libra going through this square, and she's interested in all of these crime shows. And I think what it is about is that we become very interested in what made a person do that. And 99.9% of the time, it reflects back to the childhood and to the family patterns and abuse that these people felt, and then went out and acted in a very dark manner. You know, I'm talking cutting people up, all of that sort of dark stuff that society as a whole doesn't really want to look at or own. However, it is part of life. So you may find yourself wanting to read or watch dark stuff. Okay. Deep anger. Let's talk about that. Because Scorpio is ruled by Mars originally, Mars would be the planet of anger. But having Pluto now assigned to Scorpio, you know, once you're digging up family issues, different ways that you were mistreated, where you've given your power away, there's an anger that can come up in you. If you are very comfortable with the emotion of anger and releasing anger, you may do that. I go to the gym and I do weights, and I did a lot of boxing through the Pluto transit. But there was an anger that seethed underneath that I was very aware of, because I'm not comfortable with anger. Well, I wasn't allowed to get angry as a child. Only one person in the house was allowed to express the emotion of anger. So that's another trait of Scorpio Pluto. Now, this one I love. Scorpios are very good at seeing others project their stuff onto them. Scorpios attract people that want to tell them their deepest, darkest secrets. I found this in the transit of Pluto to my natal sun. People would just blurt out stuff, and just randomly. And I knew that that was a trait of a Scorpio Pluto transit. So I was well aware of what was happening. So you may find that people just tell you their deepest, darkest secrets, for no reason at all, could be complete strangers, and it's a good thing to observe and be aware of. They are so aware of gaslighting. They are detectives. They can see lies. They perceive somebody lying. They perceive somebody keeping a secret. So they're well aware of projecting that onto themselves. So you will become very adept at observing others project their stuff onto you. And once you become empowered in this transit, you won't take it. You won't have that anymore. And I would love to think that this is the sting of the Scorpio that you will read about, so that when others project their crap stuff onto another, Scorpio nails it, calls it, bang, and it comes across like a sting, because they've seen that the other person actually has that within themselves, and they're blaming the poor Scorpio. Or in your case, Aquarius, Pluto, Taurus, and Scorpio. So that's empowering to not be the victim of somebody else's gaslighting, projection. Very aware of that. They see hypocrisy, and they can name these things in others. And they're used to being projected on Scorpios. They have an emotional thick skin, and Pluto transit to the natal sun towards the end of the transit, challenging transit. You will have a thick skin, I guarantee you. I have a big Sagittarius moon, and I'm a big crybaby. However, I have really, come into my power on an emotional level. I can still cry, but I don't sink into that victimhood when I'm hurt that way. So I'm going to wrap all of that up. You're going to become the alchemist, like Scorpio. You're going to transmute darker energies within yourself. You're going to own those energies, and you're not going to be ashamed of those energies. That's something Scorpio can do. You can name their darkness, and they go, so, yeah, I got it. Instead of, that's not me. That's that projection again. And you will be fully transformed. And that is a beautiful feeling after years and years and years of deep pain. And that is part of the process. So please subscribe. As of October 2022, I'm new on YouTube. And today is the new moon solar eclipse at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So I thought it was good timing to speak about Scorpio and the similarities between the astrology sign Scorpio and its planetary ruler, Pluto. So please like, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments, and catch up with us at the end of the month. If you've got any queries, pop them in the comments box, and at the end of the month we will look and address everybody's queries, and I'll do the best I can. So thank you all very much. Love you, and have a beautiful transformation of your true self.